I really appreciate something you said, that we want to know how this translates to real life. I mean, not to keep the discussion on the theoretical abstract level. And as a matter of fact, that's exactly how I prepared my presentation today. Is I was thinking, how can I give something that I hope will be somewhat relevant to everyone, and at the same time, not keeping us locked into highly theoretical discussions. And I believe that that is something in the interest of everyone. So the question we have for this session is sustaining peace and how to look at policies, institutions, and partnerships. So in preparing for this, again, I will remind of the model I used to explain all this. And my suggestion is that along the spectrum of how we address conflicts and how we move towards peace, sustaining peace or sustainable peace will be reflected in the area where we are connecting conflict transformation, peace building, and conflict prevention. This is where we call positive peace. And definitely a strong element of positive peace and conflict prevention is the sustainability of the peace that we strive to achieve. So how to do it in a 15-minute presentation. I was fortunate for the last 20 plus years to do a lot of work related to evaluating and researching and conducting peace building programs in many parts of Africa. And I have been collecting my stories and actually put them into some video presentations. What I decided that actually I'm going to take each of the three pillars of the session, the policies, the institutions, and the partnerships, and I will reflect on each of them with one or two stories. Each story that I will mention, I already put a link in the bottom for if anyone is interested to listen more or to watch more about that story that I will be sharing. And I'm sure, of course, that Peace Without Limits can share this PowerPoint presentation with everyone, and that's how they can get that link. In terms of sustaining peace via policies, I will give an example of identity issues. I mean, we have already spoken in the earlier sessions about identity being a big part of conflicts that are happening in Africa. And therefore, if you want to have sustainable peace, then having identified identity as one of the major factors contributing to conflict, then any effort for peace must address questions of identity. The challenge is, how do you do this? There are many ways you can address identity. And actually, that's what I learned through my work in Rwanda and Burundi. I was surprised to see that those two countries, they have taken two distinct approaches to how to address issues of identity at the policy level. How is that? Burundi, for example, I found through the evaluation and research I've done that they put a strong emphasis on how to make people appreciate who they are based on their ethnic identity, tribal identity, religious identity, while of course being aware that they are Burundians, the national identity. But they assigned a big deal of the effort to get people to come out and not to be afraid to say, I am Hutu, I am Tutsi. And we all know, of course, that the violence that happened in 1994 and in different episodes in the history of that country and in Rwanda was around the ethnic divide between Hutus and Tutsis. So in Burundi, the approach that was taken was about getting people to feel proud of their own ethnic identity, at the same time to appreciate how they can peacefully coexist with the other and how to respect the other while respecting themselves and expecting others to respect them. And that happened, actually, I learned about this in a very ironic way. When we were in 1998 doing research about peace building programs in Burundi, and we were wanted to conduct a survey on the street, and we had a group of Burundian researchers helping us. And they were half Hutus, half Tutsis, and half men, half women. And we went along through all the questions we wanted to ask in the survey. But of course, we needed to know the demographics of the people that we were sampling for our survey. So we wanted to know about their education, their age, gender, and other factors. Of course, we wanted to know if they were Hutus or Tutsi, because we needed to make sure that the peace building programs are affecting both groups the same way. But when we suggested that we ask people if they were Hutu or Tutsi, the researchers from Burundi got so upset and refused that we ask a question of that type directly. And it was a big discussion and argument. At the end, we accepted that, okay, we are not going to ask the question like that, but are there other ways to ask that, to figure out if somebody is Hutu or Tutsi? And they actually suggested to us that if we ask people, what is your hometown? Like what village originally you came from? That will be a good indicator of whether they were Hutu or Tutsi, because most villages are fully Hutu or fully Tutsi. So we accepted this as a good indicator of if someone is Hutu or Tutsi, and we work it this way. Interestingly, 3 years after, in 2002 or so, I went back and I did a longitudinal research on the same peace building program. And when we got to develop the survey with 10 other researchers from Burundi, and I said, okay, how are we going to ask the question of Hutu Tutsi? Are we going to ask about what village you came from? To my surprise, after 3 years of the effort of the government and the media to emphasize, as I mentioned, the pride in your ethnicity, to my surprise, the 10 researchers said there's no problem at all to ask people directly if they were Hutu or Tutsi. Because after all this effort for 3 years, people were no longer shy to say I was Hutu or Tutsi, and they take pride in it, while, as I have to emphasize, asserting that they have to live peacefully with everyone else.